In section 2, we're going to talk about navigating around the Vertigo application. Most of the navigation is done through the Navigation Toolbar at the top of the application. You'll see there are a number of different buttons on the toolbar that will take you to different areas of the application. The first button is the Overview button, and that will bring you to the Study Dashboard page, which is also the default page that you will enter upon entering the application. The second button is the Ipf List Page. The Ipf List Page gives you the list of instrumented protective functions or safety instrumented functions depending on how you're going to be using the application. On the Ipf List Page, you have a list of all the functions as they're defined. You have a summary of the data for each of those IPFs. You're going to be able to look at the events or the activations that are associated with each one of those functions, and then you'll also be able to look at the revisions of those different items. The next button over is the Add button, and the Add button will add any number of objects that are available inside the Vertigo framework. So when you click on the Add button, it will ask you what you want to add, whether that's an IPF, sensor, logic solver, final element, an instrument type such as a process connection, interface, and so on. And it will also allow you to add documents, recommendations, and IPF groups. So that's adding. The next button over is the View button, which works much the same way. So when you click on the View button, if you wanted to view, for instance, the sensor list, you click on Sensors and it will bring up the sensor list, or you can click on the View button and bring up the document list, and it will respond accordingly. So the View button allows you to view the various different lists and grids that are available inside the Vertigo application. The next button over is the Validate button. So with the Validate button, this is going to be the button that you would use to cause the software to perform a validation check of all the calculations in the database. So that is a validation. The next button over, or the next two, are associated with safety requirement specifications. The first button bringing up the safety requirement specification lists, including the general requirements list, and then the worksheets for IPFs, the worksheets for sensors, for logic solvers, and final elements. The button next to that is the cause and effect diagram button, where you will be able to document the logic that your safety instrumented function performs. So let me pull up an IPF group and show you that that will bring up the cause and effect diagram for that group. The next button over is going to be the testing button, and it's going to bring up the set of grids associated with tracking testing. So that's going to include testing for sensors, testing for logic solvers, and final elements, of the different pages that are available under that group. The next button over is the bypassing group. So the bypassing group allows you to view bypass activations and authorizations. So that will bring up a list of the various bypassing activities that have occurred. The next button over is the Reports button, and that will bring up the Reports section of the database, allowing you to select and create a variety of different reports that are available inside the Vertigo framework. Next button over is the Study Settings tab, and the Study Settings button will bring up the Study Settings dialog box and allow you to manipulate the different settings that are available to change the way calculations are performed, and also change the way that the different forms display their data. Next is the Export Study button. Clicking on the Export Study button is going to bring up a dialog box that will take the information that is contained in a Vertigo study and cause it to be exported out of Vertigo into a into an external file. In this case, it's going to be an Excel spreadsheet. So you can see here that clicking on that button exported the study, and I can show that in the folder and actually even bring that up in Excel to show that all the data that was contained within the Vertigo study ended up getting exported, and everything from SRS to drawings to sensor types to sensors themselves, process connections, so on and so forth. So all the information that's contained in any given Vertigo study can be exported into an Excel format for transfer and storage and other purposes by clicking on the Export Study button. And then finally, the last button is the Back to Study list. So if I wanted to exit this study or exit the Vertigo application, I simply click on the Back to Study list button, and it's going to bring me back to the study list for the facility that I am working on.